As a leader or a coach, you don't need to be an expert in psychology or neuroscience, but you do need to be aware of a couple of key concepts. And this concept's going to help you understand when you're going to be run by the part of your brain that you're least aware of. And it's going to help you in high pressure and tricky situations to be a more effective communicator. We've all been in situations or seen people be in situations that react in ways that are not something that they're proud of, ways that are less than desirable, ways that are a bit reactive, a bit aggressive, maybe a bit passive, inappropriate in some way. Now, this concept here is going to illustrate why this is occurring. As I said, you don't need to be an expert in neuroscience, but you do need to understand that the brain operates conceptually from a couple of different systems. The first system is very fast, instinctual, and emotional. Some people refer to this as the limbic system or the reptilian system, or system 1 as Daniel Kahneman talks about it. However, there's a different system where it's more logical, problem solving, doing complex things. As Robert Sapolsky talks about this system, it's the prefrontal cortex that allows you to do the harder thing when it's the right thing to do. And it's important to note we're talking about the concept of the mind, not exact mechanical neuroscience, but this concept has stood the test of time. We're talking about the part of our brain that we're aware of and the part of our brain that we are unaware of. And some people refer to this as the conscious mind or the unconscious mind. Social psychologist Jonathan Haidt from NYU talks about it as the elephant, as the unconscious mind, and the rider as that conscious part. Or there's a common word for it in German culture. It's called inner Schweinhund, which means your inner pig dog, which is more that reactive, instinctual part of our mind that we are less aware of. Dr. Daniel Kahneman, in his book Thinking Fast and Slow, refers to it as System 1 and System 2 to differentiate these two systems. And psychiatrist from New Zealand, Dr. Kerry Evans, refers to it as the red head and the blue head, referring to these two systems. And you can probably tell which is the red head and which is the blue head based on which one is a bit more reactive and which one is a bit more logical and calmer. And this comes from hot-headedness and cold-headedness. So you understand these concepts. You can explain it however you want, but the concept is legitimate. The concept has stood the test of time, and the concept is grounded in science. And in coaching and leadership, we need to understand the purpose of why we need to know it. And it's because awareness precedes change. We need to be able to adapt and be flexible, especially in high pressure or tense situations. We need to be able to shift gears between that reactive, instinctual, automatic system and the more conscious, deliberate system. We need the skill to be able to do this. But that first system, that reactive system, it's not all bad. Sometimes we need to think really quickly and use our instincts. It allows us to connect more, maybe when we're more emotional, and that's okay. It also allows us to show anger, and that's okay too in the right times. If you need to inspire people or you want to be more impactful, using that system and being angry, that's okay. Connecting more with others, you need to be using that first system. You need to show that empathy to really connect. And the really dynamic leaders are able to do both. They're able to shift gears from the reactive part of their communication style to that more deliberate, slower and conscious communication style. And it's important to integrate this language into your team as well. So if somebody does something wrong, they could be accountable to themselves and say, sorry team, I was just in red head at that moment. I need to do a little bit better in controlling how I communicate. Or you could say, oh, that was definitely system 1 talking there. Somebody else might say, that was my inner pig dog brain talking, team. So what you're doing is you're creating that shared language. You're leveling up that team culture and understanding and growing together as a team. And over time, your team develops self-awareness, a collective communication intelligence, and that becomes a competitive edge. So simplify this concept. We're all guilty of it. We're all vulnerable to it. And just realize that you have the flexibility to shift gears if you're aware of when you're in each zone.